so that we make it available. Welcome everybody to this session on the significance of the victory of the MAS party in Bolivia. And we have with us Yvonne van Pelt, who was born in Bolivia, lives in the Netherlands, and she will be our guide today to understand the significance. So without further ado, I would like to give the floor to Yvonne. So Yvonne, take care.
Thank you very much, Sander, for this invitation, and thank you for all the audience. Also, they will follow this conversation, and thank you also to the people who have helped to restore the democracy of the plurinational state of Bolivia. And I will make first a small presentation, and after I will give you a room for some questions. So I will share with you a PowerPoint presentation. Just let me connect it. Okay. Did you put me as a hoster?
Yes, you're the co-host now. You have to share
Okay.
your
I'm not able to share. And I hear only music. I don't know where come from this music. Sandeu?
Now I hear you.
Okay. Did you put me as a co-hoster? Okay. Let me see. Okay, I am here. Share.
Koki, kan je het wel even doen? Koki.
Yeah. I think maybe we can close everybody the microphones because I am here some music. Can you see the screen, everybody?
Okay. So where is this music coming from?
Maybe me. Koki, Coco, kan je heel even boven gaan?
Okay. All right.
Yeah. Okay, I will present you this small presentation is Dutch, which Madeleine also is trying to help me with the correction in Dutch. But if you see some mistakes, because Dutch is not my strong language. But if you have any questions, you can make it after the presentation. So I will try to explain the situation in Bolivia about this last year, what's happening, and how we deal with all the problems in Bolivia. And first, I will give you a bit of background, our history. And I think Bolivia, as every South American country, they are also confronting between two cultures. In Bolivia, we have, we say always, we have a culture or history that is told by the indigenous people, and the other history is told by the intellectual people that can write and read. So these two histories makes it very difficult for the society in Bolivia, because they create a separation in our culture. So it's what we are fighting the most of the time, every time, and every circumstance in Bolivia. So what we try to deal today is that we can recognize our own cultures. So I will give you a bit background about two persons. They have a very important role in Bolivia these last years, and especially the last year turning around with the CAP in Bolivia. So I think everybody knows Carlos Mesa was the opposite party of Evo Morales, who they play a very important role the last 14 years. I will give you a little background about Carlos. I don't know who is coming. I think it's George. Sandeo, maybe you can control the microphones because yes, you can put mute everybody.
Yes.
So except me, of course. So I will give you a bit of background about Carlos Mesa. Carlos Mesa was president in Bolivia after Gonzalo Sanchez de Lozada left the government in 2004, and Carlos Mesa became president for a bit time, but he left saying the country that Bolivia was a very unpopular and very difficult to have a government there. So he left the government in 2004 and give the opportunity to Evo Morales to be a leader of the coca group of coca ground, who was growing all the time, and give the opportunity to present for the elections. So Evo Morales' background is very, very poor background. He never finished the school. He was only did a basic school, we call in Bolivia, and give him the opportunity to be writer and reading, but no going further with his education. And but he was very strong in communication. So Evo Morales became a president simple by being able to read and write, and born in Orinoca, a small countryside city, and he was very famous for his march during the problem with the gas in Bolivia, and which became a leader of the very big group, Indians group. So Evo Morales' background as an indigenous was very strong in communications, and that make very strong him to be able to communicate their own people or their own roots. So Carlos Mesa, he was a leader from the opposition, and Evo Morales was the leader for the indigenous population in Bolivia, which is a very big population. So I will talk about the political constitution in Bolivia, because they played a very important role in this last time. The constitution in Bolivia, there was always a copy from the Spanish constitution, which constitution was only for the people background of the colonization, but not for the Indian population. So the constitution was always relegated the indigenous in Bolivia, and no rights, no rights to go to the school, no rights for have a good security. So the indigenous, they must be the countryside. But when Evo Morales became president, he changed completely the constitution, and we call it the new constitution, which was also profit for the indigenous people, because indigenous people, they were always relegated, and was the case also of Evo Morales. So he decided to change the new constitution, and they put a constitution accepted for the people in a referendum. So and elected for the poor people. So the poor people have more rights in the political, economical, and social in Bolivia. So this new constitution was approved on the 7th February of 2009. And this constitution transforming completely the unitary social law into a plural community law. So with the free independence, sovereign, and also democratic, intercultural, decentralized, and with the autonomy also, which make a bit uncomfortable the middle and the rich class in Bolivia with all those change. But I think Bolivia and Ecuador, they were the first countries, they promulged the new constitution, political constitution of these both states. So I will talk about the referendum because this new change of the political constitution, the political state, they make Evo Morales to make some change also with elections. But people in Bolivia, for the middle class, they didn't was happy, because they said when Evo Morales want to become the second round president of Bolivia, they didn't like the Evo Morales to be a president. So they decided to make a vote for if will be Evo Morales presenting for the second time. And Evo Morales' argument that the first 4 years from Evo Morales were during the Republic, now with the new state as a plurinational state. But the people in Bolivia from the middle class, they didn't like that. So they were argumented that Evo Morales doesn't have a right to present it for the second term. So this referendum became to choose if Evo Morales will be presented for the second time or not, or for the third time or not. So the referendum was gone in 21st February 2016, and which was very complicated for political in Bolivia, because the results, they were not very happy for Evo Morales, because Evo Morales was if I stay or if I go. So the referendum was the no for the telling the Evo second government. The no was winning. That means Evo Morales doesn't have a right for a third presidential election. But this referendum was like a sabotage from the rich and middle class, because they argument that Evo Morales have a child, and he never take care of him, and he never give any attention, which was not true. But they make people to be busy with this lie, and make a confusion in a lot of other people. So Evo Morales was trying to put on front their party, political party, to help them that he needs to be stay on the as a president, because he's in the middle of a lot of change in Bolivia, which of course they were not agree with the middle and rich class, because they put in the second plan all of this favoritism, or all of this advantage they have, the middle class and the rich class, and they make a new middle class in Bolivia with the indigenous, which they were more involved in the political in Bolivia. So the Constitution decided that Evo Morales will be present for the next elections on the 20 October of the 2019. And they became a very strong campaign of the two parties of Evo Morales and Carlos Mesa. Carlos Mesa is from the, we call it the community state, and Evo Morales is the party is the movement to the social and is political instrument for the indigenous population, because Bolivia have 36 ethnies in Bolivia, and which they are representing for from the Evo Morales political party. So the campaign from Carlos Mesa political party or party, they was really very strong and making a lot of publicity about how they can denigrate the Evo Morales government. So they were complaining about how he was changed and doing no schools but small playrooms for the small cities in Bolivia, and strongly accused of the narco trafficant, which Evo Morales was defended, the coca culture, and but they were using a completely media to disinform the people. At the difference of the Evo Morales, he was presenting a completely plan what he was done on the past for Bolivia and the change he has made, and how he was making Bolivia to progress and be very, very successful, especially in the economy point of view, because the economy in Bolivia when Carlos Mesa left Bolivia was really a disaster, because we have a lot of inflations. And as example, I remember we have $1 which cost 2 millions. And when Evo Morales came to Bolivia, he changed the money, and he changed the way also of to deal with the economical systems. And the most important role of Evo Morales was the nationalization of the very big enterprise, which were multinationals as electricity, the water, also the Telefonica. So all of these big companies, they turned national. That's make it was administrated by the Evo Morales government. So who makes really very profit to the Bolivian people, because he creates a lot of bonus for the poor, for the old people, for the handicapped people. So really giving social programs. So this campaign was turned, as everybody knows, in a very big conflict and a boycott during the elections on the 20th of October, because Carlos Mesa turned with that the election was a fraud. So the Republic campaign against the multinational campaigns was a battle because the party of Carlos Mesa was not agree with the elections that MAS from Evo Morales will be the winner. So they announced before the counting of the election that there was a fraud, and this fraud was really the problem in for the elections in Bolivia on the 20th of October last year. So Carlos Mesa by the American government, specific for the North countries, that's mean America and Europe, and also be accomplice with the OAS. I think you know all of this problem that the organization State of America, they were the first to confirm that there was a fraud. And that was a very bad situation for the party of Evo Morales, because we believe that there was something was wrong, but between the lapse of the time of the 20th of October until 10th of November, they were elapsed that the party Mesa profit to disinform the people, and they were organized a lot of cabildos, we call actions, against the MAS during this short period of time, a week, which the people we supported Evo Morales, we were completely uninformed. And there became a lot of cabildos from the rich and middle class, and showing that there was a fraud, and profiting really this week to make a weak the government of over Evo Morales, which turned in a separatism, dividing our society, and showing a very, very strong xenophobia in Bolivia, and also the racism. So this separation of two social class in Bolivia make a turnaround of the coup. So the conclusion for us as Bolivian citizens was how the rich class profit from the media to communicate all this fraud, that the Indian population and the MAS party, they couldn't do anything, only accept that there was a fraud. When we know the most of the people we were supporting Evo Morales, because not everybody supported the party of Evo Morales, but we support Evo Morales, period. We couldn't do anything, because Indian population, they don't have networks, they don't have communications, they live very far away, and the situation was extremely confused for everybody. So at the end, we knew what was the real situation in Bolivia about the coup. And Bolivians, we know we have a very, very big superfice of the lithium in Bolivia, which was explored by government of Morales. And I will give you a bit information about this lithium, because Bolivia have an extension, very big extension of this lithium. We call it a reservoir. and which was really profited by our Bolivian state. And Evo Morales make a construction of the fabric of in Bolivia. As you can see, Uyuni have a very big extension, and Evo Morales make 4 fabrics. One was the potassium chloride carbonate, and other 2 plants that they were the 2 first they were building by China, and the other ones they were in process to build with the Germany. So the big important thing is to see that we call it the triangle, lithium triangle, and Argentina and Chile, they are the owners, they are multinationals. Here in Bolivia, the owner, there was the plurinational state of Bolivia. So who makes very jealous our neighbors, and also make a bit to be uncomfortable to United States and Europe, because Chile and Argentina, the lithium owners are China, and a part of the lithium is United States, which put the lithium in Bolivia, giving to German company in a very bad situation to United States, Russia, and China, because they were on the back, and they were not agree with this solution. So in Bolivia, we think that was the big problem, and we call today the lithium cap, because of the decision of Evo Morales. And we find out why Evo Morales decided to give to Germany and not to USA or China or Russia. And it was more marketing problem, because Germany is very strong in cars, and also very strong in Telefonica. So they were found that is a really advantage for Bolivia to have a good market for the lithium, which was putting in a very not nice position to USA, which was really working for being one of the owners of the lithium in Bolivia. And I think you know the history of the Tesla company, and how they sponsored the coup in Bolivia. So I will give you a bit background about the actors in Bolivia. We have the most important is Carlos Mesa. I think everybody knows Carlos Mesa, but for information, Carlos Mesa was involved in 3 mass genocides in Bolivia. The first one was in 2003, when 71 people died and 400 were injured during the manifestation of the gas problem. Also, Carlos Mesa want to be out of the justice, because he has a lot of problems during his government, and he was trying to, as a senator, to be aware about this judgment he has pending in Bolivia. The second one, we have Luis Fernando Camacho. Luis Fernando Camacho is really a very new for us. He appeared as a person interested in the coup. He was not, we never hear about him, but he was involved in the coup, and Camacho was supported by the OAS and America. So the third was Janine Áñez Chávez, which is proclaimed as a new president of Bolivia during the time Bolivia can go further to the second round of the elections. So the other one was Kaliman. Williams Kaliman was the general from the armed force in Bolivia, which asked Evo Morales to leave the country. The third one is, of course, everybody knows, the Organization of American States, who declared the fraud, and Luis Almagro involved this organization in the complot of the fraud. So the other ones are the United States, who was supporting this coup also, with this Tesla company, and make sure that the lithium will be also from administrated from America. So the other one is the police in Bolivia, which they were really for us was very, very bad, because police was involved in this coup, and also the armed force. So all of these actors for us are really very painful, because Bolivian people couldn't defend against the coup or the transitory government of, they call it Janine Áñez government, and the Bolivian people doesn't have any support at all. So the other one was the media. So the private media was also participate in this coup, because most of the televisions and radios in Bolivia are from the rich people or middle class, which they were doing a really bad propaganda, but not informing the people. So we were not allowed to our liberty expression to say anything. So that was also another shot, very hard shot for Bolivian people, that we don't have anything. And another actor was the economic, which North countries, they were supporting this coup economical. So everybody knows that North America and Europe was behind. So that everybody knows that. So with all of this happening in Bolivia, during the period of the coup in Bolivia, or they call the transitory government, was very sad for especially for the indigenous population, because they couldn't defend themselves, and the only way to defend themselves, they were the streets, and which they were pointed by the army in Bolivia. And we have two genocides in this moment, that is Sacaba, Sencata, and also Pedregal in La Paz. So with this, we have a government was completely abusing their human rights, and also the liberty of expression, provoking the people in Bolivia, and the measures they were taking against the confrontations and everything. So, and to add these problems, they came also the COVID-19. So for Bolivia was very difficult to try to fight the coup and the COVID-19. So all of this things in Bolivia, they make so difficult for people doesn't have communication and doesn't have really weapons to defend themselves. So they start to use the streets, and I think that is always had Bolivia Indian population do it. Because it's the only weapons they have. So they have their voice on the streets. So all of these things happening in Bolivia make us for Bolivian in Europe and all the countries in the world to make actions to help our country, because we knew and we couldn't do anything inside of Bolivia. And here we met George and Madeleine, which play a very important role for us, because they were always supportive and always giving us motivation to go further and going with these actions, and what they were really helping us in Bolivia. And also because we try to be unit, all Europe, all the Bolivians in Europe, and we decided to use also the network tools, because the network tools are very important today for everybody. But we decided to use the tools not for make propaganda, but for do really use as information tools. So we start to do a lot of Zooms, because there was the way for us to show what is happening in Bolivia, how was the situation, and we have videos, and we have everything. People was trying to send it to us via YouTube, via Facebook, and we decided to use the Zoom also to make information or informed with the very important people in Bolivia. So we started these Zooms with a lot of important people in Bolivia, which they are quite neutral, but they also support the change and also support the social movements and also support the network. So we decided to be more specific, and especially be really focused in what we are to doing next, what is our next step. So we also decided together in Europe to write letters, to write, we call it in Spanish, a manifiesto, which is we denounce what is going on in Bolivia, but not only to people on the street, but also to the international community. So we send the letters to the human rights. We send a letter to the Parliament, European Parliament in Belgium, to the Commission, European Commission. We write a letter to the Amnesty International. We write letters to ONU, I don't know, Organization for the United Nations. So, and we write a letter to the court, International Penal Court, because of the problem or Senkata and Sacaba genocide. So all of these motivations and contact with some international community help us a lot to go to the next elections, which the government was taking in advantage the COVID-19 to postpone the elections every time. So this international community helped us to force Janine Áñez to go finally to the elections on the 18th of October. So for us was very difficult because one article in the Constitution, they said if after a year the transitory government couldn't solve the problem, this government can stay for 4 years until Bolivia can find a solution to the problem. So for us, the 18 October was 2 days before the 20, which was the last election, was very painful for all Bolivians because we didn't know what will going to happen. And the uncertainty was very big because we think they will again another coup in Bolivia. This is a card where are our 630 cultures or languages we have in Bolivia. And what was very, very amazing for us is how the Bolivian people was in Bolivia to do blocks against the government because they were so disciplined. We have a wonderful video that I couldn't find, but you see the Indian people respecting the rules of the COVID-19, making a fields, but walking so far away because Bolivian distance is amazing. Bolivia is 26 times Holland. So we have 1 million of kilometer square, and the distance they are so big, but Indian people, they were walking and making their voice to hear. So I think the results of all of these actions in Bolivia help to us to go back to the democracy. So this is the end of our year working in Bolivia, and I think George and Madeleine knows how we were every week protesting, and I remember we go with another colleague, Dinah, 2 days walking in completely Den Haag and putting in all the embassy post. The newspaper was made by Madeleine, and we were putting on the box and giving information and telling our situation in the old embassies. At the end, it was so amazing that they couldn't walk anymore with Dinah, but we were so happy because we said, do you imagine if we don't have this new paper, how we can communicate to people? And I think we are so grateful with Madeleine and George about all these initiatives, because for us it was completely new. We didn't know how to face all of these things, and lucky us, George and Madeleine, they are so busy with Venezuela that they know a bit how these things work, because for us was completely not aware about these situations. And we also see if during this period of the 20 October, which was the election, and the 10 November was the coup, if we can work as the opposition was working with the cabildos and recognize Evo Morales, maybe we can avoid the coup, but we were a bit late. So that was a bit confused for us. So I am open for the questions. I don't know.
Okay, thank you very much, Yvonne. I would like to ask George. Yvonne referred to the work the Peace with Venezuela is doing. So I would like to ask George to tell us something more about the work before we go into the questions.
Sorry, I couldn't hear very well.
Sorry, let me see. Yes.
Can you hear my voice now? Sorry, can you hear what I'm saying? Oh no. Sorry. I don't think the microphone is working. Wait a minute.
It is working. It's okay.
Yeah, is it working?
Yes.
Yes? Oh, okay. Oh, thank you. Thank you very much, Madeleine. Well, yeah, for us, it was a year of day and night action. You told us, you told already about it. We were supporting and we were in solidarity with Venezuela. I think it's very important. Venezuela is standing strong against all the aggressions of the, let's say, empire. I don't know if you agree with the name, but you also can see the elite who wants to control the world and wants to take the resources from all the countries which are not, they are only interested in the resources, not in the people. And well, we saw a lot of things happening in Venezuela, but one day, I think Madeleine phoned me. She said, well, shouldn't we look at Bolivia? There's something happening. I think it was end of October then that she told me. And from that moment, we already looked a bit at Bolivia, but not so much. And then we saw it going wrong and wrong. And it was so, it happened in a night that the coup succeeded. And we were, of course, very disappointed. And one thing we knew, we shouldn't give up. That's what you never should. And that's what we told to Yvonne and to Nushta. Never give up. And you should give hope to the people in your country, because without hope, it will you will stay under the control of the empire, under the control of the coup regime. So what really changed after that is that the people of Bolivia, they reacted stronger than we ever were. They were so strong in organizing things. Yvonne brought letters to everywhere by hand, with the clothes of Bolivian people, went to Den Haag and delivered the letters. Of course, they were not allowed to deliver, but they did. And I think in Brussels they did the same. I wasn't there, but the Bolivian people here and in Bolivia and in the rest of the world, they were very strong. And that's the reason why within a year, you get a chance to continue this beautiful experience, which is beautiful for the whole world, not just for Bolivia, because the whole world is suffering from neoliberal disaster, let's say. You know, students of my son's age or younger, they need 10,000 euros just for a house, insurance, medical insurance, and study, pay a study. 10,000 euros, and then he has nothing. So it's the end of this illusion that the neoliberal thing can bring the people something. So I think Bolivia is a beautiful experience for a better world, for a better system, and then with 36 different communities, different peoples, can I say that? Different languages. So it's a little world on its own, and it's showing the big world how you can live together, how you can have a very good economy without support of the empire, without support of the IMF, the World Bank, and so on. All those created things which only supported the empire themselves and not the countries they suggest to help. So sorry for my English. My English is not so good, but that's what I want to say.
Thank you very much, George. I'll start the conversation with some questions to Yvonne, and after that, I'll open the floor for everybody to join in. The victory of Morales and the people of Bolivia is changing a trend in Latin America, because one leftist government after the other basically left power. And if we look at the press, they suggest that there would be a kind of contradiction between Evo Morales and Luis Arce, the president, as if Luis Arce would be against Evo Morales. Can you explain your view on this?
Okay. Yeah, I think we don't need to believe everything that what the journals or the newspapers said. The only I can tell you is, Evo Morales and all the most of the Bolivian people, we are already fighting for 14 years this situation, because Evo Morales started with a very strong people against him, insulting and giving a lot of things. And one of the supports of Evo Morales is Lucho Arce, because Lucho or Luis Arce is in the government from Bolivia from the beginning until the end. And don't forget that Evo Morales is the leader of the MAS-IPSP. Why? Because Evo Morales chose Luis Arce be the leader for the next election with David Choquehuanca. And David Choquehuanca was also part of Evo Morales. He was the chancellor of Bolivia in the first 2 periods from the Evo Morales government. So I don't think so Luis Arce will be against Evo Morales. I think will be in the second plan, working behind Luis Arce, because he is the leader of the party of Luis Arce. And I think the loyalty of Luis Arce for Evo Morales is very strong. Otherwise, he's not coming back to Bolivia. We will never, if Luis Arce will be against Evo, we will not be allowed to give to come back to Bolivia. So I think we need to be more carefully, especially with the Bolivians people, we need to be more carefully when we read the news, because today information is very bad informed. Okay. So we don't, for the Bolivians today, we decided not to keep all information comes from the media, that's mean Facebook, Twitter or YouTube. because there are a lot of publicity and no information at all. So for us, we decided to receive directly from Bolivia, from the people, the real information. I remember for the letter we did for the human resource, we did a Zoom with hundreds of Bolivians. They were participated in the genocide of Sencata, Sacaba, and Pedregal. And all of these Zooms we registered and we write the names and the films from the people, and we send it back to the human rights. And they was the only way human rights in Geneva, because we went to Geneva to give this letter. They really listened to the Bolivian crimes that are happening in this time. So the reason why I think Luis Arce will be still loyal to Evo Morales. But we know, just for finish, we know that, and we recognize the Bolivian people, the two first period, Evo Morales was an opposite to the rich and the middle class. You know, he was giving no attention at all. And how people reclaim to Evo Morales today, and I think Evo Morales is learned from that, is now he needs to be not an oppositor to the rich people or middle class people, but he needs to integrate people in this moment. So Bolivia needs to work in order that we can integrate all the societies, middle class, rich class, indigenous class, all the class, we need to be integrated. That means each Bolivian, we need to change our attitude to make this change.
What would that change be? The change in attitude.
I think the change attitude is to be to realize that we cannot live as we are living today in Bolivia, to divide in Bolivia, to do, there are a special word that I don't remember in English, sedition. You know, this kind of sedition is in Bolivia. But I think this phenomenon is on all the countries, because we see in Spain a lot with the Catalonia problem. We see a lot in Belgium because they have problems to conform this government. Maybe we have a problem here in Holland also because we have Groningen, we have a Friesland. So we have everywhere, but the difference in Bolivia is the xenophobia, so the discrimination. And I think all the people will realize today that the only way to change attitude is to know our own culture. Because in Bolivia or in all South America, we are too European mentality or American mentality. So we Bolivians, we realize we need to change that to change our country. So we want to go back to our roots, our real culture, which is not a culture of eos or 100 years. It's a culture of 1,000 years. Inca culture have 5,000 years old. So we want to go back to that. And we show this year that it's possible to go back to that. And so that is our goal today as a Bolivian, to know our own culture.
How will the reaction of the police and the army be now this government is in power?
It's very difficult because the most of the we found with between Venezuela, what he did, Chavez for Venezuela, he was really put a lot of attention of the in Venezuela. That's mean the area force, the maritime force, and the ground force, which was not done in Bolivia. And I think that was our big problem. And Evo Morales sent to the force to go and make a course in America, you know. That was amazing. That was the situation of Cayman. He was sent, Evo Morales sent to be an expertise to America. And they turn around to our country. You know, that's amazing for us. It's not something, and now what we are doing, and I know how the nation is doing, is making their own force.
Who is making their own force? The MAS.
No, it's nothing related to the MAS. It's more related to the indigenous culture, because in the MAS, you need to see the MAS as a party of Evo Morales, but Evo Morales make a coalition with the IPSP, that who is the other indigenous political parties. The reason why they call MAS-IPSP, or sorry, SPS, because we have 36 ethnies. They must be represented in Bolivia today, as I show you the map, because this map was configured for Evo Morales to show the identity. And you know, is the only president they give us an identity for all Indians. Before, no Indians can have an identification card. And Evo Morales was very clever, because he ensured himself he will be win because of the Indian population, because it's the 60% of the population in Bolivia, which is not happening in another country in South America, and makes a very big difference in this situation. And I think there are only 3 countries in South America which the Indian population is very higher, and that is Bolivia, Peru, and Ecuador. Argentina, Colombia, Chile, or Brazil, they have a very low population, which is not compared to Bolivia. And I think that is the point, or that makes Bolivia very strong in this situation.
Coming back to the question of, sorry, the armed forces. You are saying that the indigenous population is organizing its own self-defense?
Yes, you know, you need to take into account that the Indian culture is very peaceful. They will never use weapons, never. Maybe they were using in the past, because we have divided cultures also within the Inca culture, but not today, because indigenous, they want to live in completely harmony. And the force for them, the weapons, they will be that. As I told you yesterday, the weapon indigenous will be the pen, because everybody wants to change today, wants to read, wants to write, wants to follow studies, and wants to be bigger. And I think that is the big thing in Bolivia and what is happening today, because no country get the democracy so peaceful. No country in the world, and it's Bolivia.
Okay, all right. I'll open the floor to everybody else who wants to ask questions. So if anybody wants to come in, please do.
Yeah. About the weapons and about how CAF has changed the situation in Venezuela to protect himself against powers he very well knew were dangerous. Yvonne says, well, the indigenous people will live in harmony and will never use weapons. I think the Imperium will be very glad about that, and they will come and get you the next time very soon. So I think there should be something solved with the army. I hope a great part of the army is supporting the indigenous people. I hope so. I hope so. This will be a peaceful change too, as the democracy was peacefully brought back to your country. I hope the military will also be peacefully brought back to your country, because you need them. You need them. This cannot happen again. You know, you have the big brother Venezuela, which is strong and defends as Libya did in Africa. Venezuela defends whole Latin America by staying there strong as they are. But you need to defend your country, because Evo is telling on the United Nations in Washington, telling things to the world. Well, he doesn't make friends with the empire by telling that how the empire is, and he's right by telling this. He's the only one who's telling what Israel is doing to the Palestinians. He's the only one who's telling that the empire is betraying the whole world. He's the only one who's telling this in the United Nations, as Gaddafi did. But you don't make any friends, and you need to defend yourself by telling such things.
Thank you, George. Other contributions?
Yeah, maybe I would like to, oh, sorry. Maybe I would like to add something to the last input of George. You know, in Bolivia, the most of the people, especially in the army, come from the indigenous roots. So this one was making it very difficult to the coup to go further, because soldiers, they were confronting the parents during this problem, because their parents, they are indigenous. So only one part of the force, they were with the coup, but not all of them. So we with the new government, they will be put more attention to this matter, because as George mentioned it, is very important for any country. And I think we learned, I hope so, we learned the lesson, and things they will change for the completely forced army in Bolivia. That means the police, all of this, the forced army. So will be, I hope so, a big change, because we need it.
Can you tell me about how the indigenous people organize and communicate? Because you say the media are in the hands of the white military.
Yes.
How is the organization and communication, especially among all these different groups, because there's 36 groups?
Yes, it's a very nice question and very important question. You know, I am working almost all my life, because I was growing in myself in the countryside. And what you see is country people is extremely organized in Bolivia, because we always work in a cooperation. We never work in our own. And you know what is interesting today, in this time where money makes everything, in Bolivia is still not important, because we have a trueque, we call in Bolivia. We exchange products. So if we have a community, they have agriculture things. They exchange with other community that they have agriculture, for example. In Bolivia, is still alive, and that makes so wonderful country, Bolivia, because we are still poor country. Sorry?
Languages, for example. You have 36 languages. And yet all these people are able to organize in unity. How do you do that with all these languages then?
Because the official language is the Spanish. You know, indigenous people is more intelligent than the Spanish people because they are bilingual. Okay. So Spanish in South America is what all the Latin American we say, how can Europe organize so well with so huge different cultures, languages and everything, and South America with one language, Spanish language, we cannot organize in that way. And you know why? Because we are too lazy. We have everything. In Bolivia is the poor country in South America, but we have everything. If we go to Amazonia, we have fruits, we have everything. We are too lazy, too conformist. But I think we are learning from the European countries now that we need to be together. We need to work together. And how is happening in Bolivia, today is happening in Peru, is happening in Ecuador, will be happening in Chile, because we are realizing we need to work together.
What about the form of organization? Because you have MAS as a political party, but then you have social movements in the mine workers, or what kind of social movements are there in Bolivia?
In general, the social movements in Bolivia, they will be always asking for something.
For what?
Asking for something. That means asking for health, asking for better education, asking for better salaries, or asking for better life. Yeah, and that will be always the indigenous people, because they were always to the society. Bolivians, we say we have 186 and 11 months now. The governments, they were always from the right, from the colonialism. We never had indigenous as Evo Morales in the government. And in the 14 years, it's too short time to change social problems, medical problems, health problems, everything. It's too short time. For change all of this, we need 100 years. But Bolivians, we say, is the beginning from the end of the colonialism. Now we are working for the decolonization. And that is our goal for all Bolivians today. So I think when we achieve that, you know, that means change how we are working now, and we agree with all the Bolivians in Europe, is to make really that happens is a cultural revolution. And what that means is to change our education. We don't want to hear anymore in our rooms, classrooms, to talking about the French Revolution, or about the Second World. No, we want to talk about our Inca civilization. And I hope so that will be a real revolution in Bolivia. And it's starting now, because we have official language is the Spanish, and Evo Morales introduced Aymara and Quechua and Guarani to these three big regions. And I think that is a good start, which the opposition don't like it. Why? Because we are slaves of this society. And now with the Evo Morales, they couldn't have any more that the reason why they are not agree and they are protesting. But for us, that is a real revolution.
Okay, thank you very much. All right, Brenda.
Hi, nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you.
Thank you for the presentation. It was very informative. I have a question, because we were talking about Evo Morales being the first representative of these communities. The lack of information and the lack of communication. My question is, how much representation did these communities have in the government, or how much they were involved, the 36 communities you mentioned? Or because I don't know if maybe I'm wrong, but maybe Morales was the only one representing these communities, and removing them was very easy to return to the previous situation. So how much did he manage to integrate and to give political voice or political participation to these communities?
Okay.
Okay, it's a very good question, but I think Evo Morales represents the Andes. We call the Andes because Bolivia is divided in 3 regions. We have the Andes, the Orient, and the South.
Mm-hmm.
So Evo Morales is represented the Andes, that means the Aymara people.
Mm-hmm.
And we have the other big indigenous population is the Quechuas.
Mm-hmm.
And the indigenous from my regions, they are the Guarani.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So Evo Morales, I think they will be from the other ethnies, they will be always considered as a Aymara, because he's come from Aymara roots. But you know, the effect that Evo Morales became president for all the other ethnies or indigenous ethnias, there was really a goal. Because in the past, they always tell us, no, you cannot go to the school, you are not capable to do anything. So for us, for all the ethnies, Evo Morales is a symbol. Yeah, we don't take that he is Aymara or he is not a Quechua. No, I think we are on the point to say if he was able to change, everybody can now. So now in the government, in Bolivia, we have 136 seats in the government, in the parliament.
Mm-hmm.
So Evo Morales is able to have 76 seats. And the rest is for Mesa and Camacho. So I think, I hope so today, Evo Morales' government will be more participative with more ethnies. Because why? Because they vote for Luis Arce. So all of these indigenous people have voting for him. So I think Luis Arce will be take care of all the ethnies. They will be represented in the parliament. It's what they are looking for today.
Brenda?
We hope.
No, I was mainly thinking about the how much, to what extent people from these communities are or know how to use the tools of the institutions, because I think that's clue, knowing how to intervene and use the tool that the governments, because at the end of the day is the medium we have to.
Yeah, I know. I know.
That's why I ask you about how, to what extent Morales gave this participation to I wasn't talking about if he's representative of all the communities, but to what extent did he gave the tools of the institutions to these people? Because if he leaves, how these people is going to use the system in their favor? You know what I mean?
Yeah, I know what you mean. You know, I think in the 14 years, people have a time. It's a very short time, but people have a time to grow. And you know what making me today very proud is that the indigenous people, they know how. And what showed that is in short time we return to democracy. That means we have not only a few people, maybe they know the tools, but I am agree with you in one point. You know, one of the big mistakes of the MAS, there was the institutionalismo in Bolivia. Evo Morales, maybe he couldn't have the time to put institutions to everything. What's happening when the coup come back to Bolivia, the first thing he closed was the cultural ministry created by Evo Morales. And why? Because there was not a real institution, and it's what Bolivia needs today, a real institutions to support the communities, to the society, to everything, and it's what I hope so, the new government, they will be work for it, the institutions.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right. On that note, I would like to thank everybody for the contribution. We are 20 minutes past our planned time. Thank you for your interesting introduction and answers. And Madeleine and George and the committee Peace for Venezuela, you're doing such wonderful work. And every time I see the results of your work, now also in bringing Yvonne in contact with our network, great work, keep spirits up, and we'll meet another time. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you very much, Andida. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Okay.